we begin, I'm going to go ahead and go over a little bit of an overview before we get started. So each candidate will have 3 minutes for opening statements. Each question will allow 90 seconds to respond, followed by 30 seconds of rebuttal. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for closing statements. And Ms. Natasha will be keeping time. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see, who has number 1? All right, Mr. Bryan.
I'll stand up, if that's all right, for this. First, I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening, taking interest in our county, and I know it means so much to all of us, and regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, we all want what's best for Jackson County, and so I just want to thank everybody for coming up and coming out. So, my name is Brian Lee. Am I good? You're good. My name is Brian Lee, and I'm running for county mayor in the Republican primary. I'm a lifelong resident of Jackson County. I was born and raised in the Dawson Branch community. I'm thankful to have my family here with me tonight, my mom and wife and daughter, and lots of other friends and family. I'm glad they were able to make it out with us tonight. And like I said, born and raised in Jackson County, graduated from Jackson County High School in 1996. Yes, that's 30 years ago next month. Time flies. But so a little bit about why I want to be mayor. I have been a teacher for the past 24 years in Jackson County schools, administrator for 6 of those, where I've oversaw approximately 45 employees on a daily basis. And I've also been a county commissioner for the past 10 years. I was appointed to fill a leave from a death, and after that ran for re-election, and just this will be in August, the end of the 10th year. Through that time, I've wanted to serve my community, and that's why I want to run again. I want to take the success that I've had at Dawson Branch School and expand that out to our whole county, and bring some positive things to our county, lead in a positive way, and just do the best that I can. I promise to work hard if I'm elected, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
All right, next candidate.
My name is Jim Morgan. I'm serving as the mayor currently in Jackson County. I was appointed in February of 25 after Randy passed. My background is in EMS. Been an EMT and a paramedic for over 30 years in the state of Tennessee. Currently a licensed paramedic in the state of Tennessee. It keeps falling. I wasn't born in Tennessee. I was born in Detroit. My dad worked in Michigan in the auto industry. When they closed his plant, he moved back, and I've been a resident of New Hope for 52 years. I've been a department head in EMS. Was director for over 25 years, both in Jackson County and Oakland. I worked with budgets. I've been on the county commission for 10 years before I was appointed mayor. Been on the budget committee, served with Mr. Brian Lee for 10 years on the budget committee. That's kind of my background. Thank you.
All right, our next candidate.
I'm going to stand up. I'm not sure that's going to do much good. Thank you all for being here. It is so great to see the democratic process happening right here in Jackson County. I cannot thank you all enough that are here in the room, and those of you who are watching or will get to watch this video later. My name is Aurora Wells, and I'm your Democratic candidate for Jackson County Mayor for 2026. And I have been asked, why in the world did you run as a Democrat? And I want to tell you a little bit about that as I introduce myself. I grew up here as a child. My mother came here when I was 4 years old. We went back to Southwest Florida when I was 11. In those growing years, that old adage that you learn everything you need to know in kindergarten is definitely true. And I'm so grateful to have gone to public school here in Jackson County. I learned everything I needed to know about my moral due north, about what's important about community, about what it means to volunteer. And I could not wait to get back here after I'd spent my life and my career in Southwest Florida. There I served as the financial director for many different nonprofit organizations, from small ones up to large ones. In that capacity, I saw a lot of change. I got to manage a lot of really difficult projects, and they all turned out pretty good. And I feel very equipped to help Jackson County because of that experience that I've had in my life. I want to give a little bit of history because I think it's an important lesson. When people think about Democrats, they think about different things. For me, it's defined as the elders among us who affected our economies in the 1950s and 60s when people in middle-class incomes were soaring. Their incomes were supporting them in a way that is not possible today. Then in the 70s and 80s, the economy was kind of stagnant. And for those of you who were in high school at that time, your parents were probably working like crazy, but there was enough to go around. You might not go on vacations all the time, but it was doable. And then in the 90s, NAFTA came along, which was pushed through Congress by Republicans. NAFTA was the North American Free Trade Agreement. And from there, we've seen our personal economies come down. What I'm here to tell you is that Democrats, to me, mean the representation of protection and prosperity. That's why I run as a Democrat, and that's why I come back here to Jackson County and represent you as well. Thank you.
Alrighty, our final candidate.
Good evening. You're good. Okay, I'm good. Good one. Okay. My name is Jonathan Goodwin, and I'm honored to be here tonight. As we come together and have a respectful debate on the issues that we face, as someone who has deep roots here in Jackson County, I have a profound commitment to seeing that we overcome these issues. We good now? Okay. All right. I'm excited to share my vision and dedication to serving the people of Jackson County. I was raised in the Fairview community on my family's farm, where my wife, Jennifer, right there in the back, where we live. And I'm proud to call that place home. And we've called that home for 6 generations. And I'm a graduate of Jackson County High School. I graduated there in 2010. I continued my education by earning multiple degrees, ranging from construction, engineering, political science, sociology, and public administration. I worked in economic development and tourism at the Upper Cumberland Development District, mainly focusing on local projects. With my work at UCDD, it has taken me throughout the 14 counties that we serve. In that time, I've gotten to see the first-hand experience and see the struggles that these rural counties face, and unfortunately, Jackson County is one of those counties. I'm a proud member of Postman's Chapel Community Church, and my family has worshiped there for many generations. More recently, I have started attending the local Church of the Nazarene with my wife since we married last September. My deep love for Jackson County and my passion for helping others drive me to offer my leadership and service to guide our county forward. Jackson County deserves strong, transparent leadership that listens, acts, and delivers results. And together, we can build a future that reflects our shared values and aspirations. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for those amazing introductions. Now we'll be moving on to our first set of questions. So we'll start in the order that we started with our introductions. And our first question is, what is one type of business you would choose not to bring into Jackson County, even if it created jobs, and why?
So, that's an interesting question. Of course, you can't stop a business necessarily from coming in, but as far as seeking out a business to not come into Jackson County, I think anything that would harm the citizens of Jackson County, harm our values, harm our way of life, there's all different things coming down the pipe now. The big thing in the news now are these data centers that you see. Obviously, they use a lot of power, and we noticed from the ice storm we sometimes have issues with that. So I think that also some of them use a lot of water, and so and you don't know what impact that has on our environment, different kind of things. So. The short answer to that is just anything that harms the citizens of Jackson County and wouldn't adhere to our values.
Thank you. All right. Next question, or next candidate, I'm sorry.
Okay. Business that I wouldn't like to see come into Jackson County would be a landfill. I think it would hurt our water system and the land and what we're used to. So that would be one thing that I probably wouldn't like to see come into Jackson County. Thank you.
I can tell you that I don't think there is one single business I would choose to deny thoughtful discussion and analysis of. And the reason why I say that is because it's a community decision, it's not mine. And I feel like my job as leader of the county is to sit down with the county commissioners and the experts who understand how these things work. Similar to the other candidates, I would never stand behind something that would harm our community, harm the ecology, or harm the citizens. However, I would want to have a full analysis and a full discussion with all the key stakeholders involved before that decision would be something I would support or deny.
Thank you. All right.
That's it. Good? Okay. This is something that we can all agree on. We don't want anything that harms the citizens of Jackson County or our environment, because Jackson County is beautiful. But for me and Mr. Lee, we both agree that data centers are potentially harmful. As we recently seen that happened in Kentucky, a 1,200-acre generational farm turned out a $26 million offer from a data center, and they said that we would rather stay and feed a nation. I see that as something admirable. We are a largely farming community, and these data centers, they do draw large amounts of power, and our power grids are just not up to date to accommodate that. And they are mainly used for generating AI. And that also poses a threat, not just for taking over our farmland to produce these centers, but to everyday entry-level jobs such as fast food industry that we see with Taco Bell out in the Midwest, toying with the idea of, having completely AI run ordering systems.
All right, before we move to our next question, one thing that I forgot to mention before our first question is after each question, there will be 30 seconds for rebuttal. So if any of you would like to discuss anything that any of y'all have talked about previously, you will have 30 seconds to do so. All right, moving on to our second question. In your first 90 days as county mayor, what headline would you hope to see about your work?
So, this may seem like a strange answer, but I would want the headline to be nothing about myself. I would want it to be about the great things that are happening in Jackson County. If you look right now, there are lots of great things that are going on in our county, especially through our young people. And so, at the end of 90 days, I would like to see that some hard work is paid off and that more great things are able to be talked about for our great county. Firmly believe we live in the best county in the state of Tennessee, and I think the more people see that, the better it is for us. So that would be my hope for a headline, is all the great things happening in our county.
I agree with, I agree with Brian. My name not being in the headlines would be a good thing. It's not always a popular spot to be. We have a lot of good things going on in Jackson County. We're making a lot of progress. Whether you see it or not, even behind the scenes, I can tell you there are things going on that most people are not aware of. We have companies that are seeking options to come into different communities. There's a lot of that going on through the mayor's office. We have to have property, we have to have buildings, we have to have infrastructure for these places to come, and that's some things that we're missing right now in Jackson County is infrastructure. You gotta have sewer, you gotta have water, you gotta have electricity if you want these businesses to come in. I get plenty of emails every month of factories and companies looking to move into Tennessee. So, like I said, I just don't mind to say it out on the paper.
Like the other candidates so far, I too am not going to be a big fan of a headline. However, I would love for good news to come out of Jackson County constantly. Whether it's coming because I'm in leadership or one of these other gentlemen is in leadership. Jackson County has great news ahead. My focus when I get in on my first 90 days is going to be to communicate with the staff and the other county commissioners. And that communication can result in an energy that will bring amazing things to Jackson County. And that would be my focus. Transparency is something that I'm a huge fan of with the modern tools that we have today, with online resources, the new Jackson County website, which we're all very proud of. We'll be able to communicate with you in ways that we haven't before. Transparency will be another of my focuses in these first 90 days.
Next candidate.
Also agreed, having your name out of the headlines is a good thing, but I would have, it's a hard thing to say to have a positive headline in a newspaper. But it's hard to tell the future. But I think if I do become elected as the next county mayor, that I would believe that I would love to see that the county is seeking after grants to improve our infrastructure. Plans underway for 24/7 urgent care facilities are in the development phase, and business recruitment is underway. I know they seem like a long shot, but the first 90 days, But if you didn't notice, I didn't say myself or the title of county mayor. I said the county. And it takes the county. It takes a collaboration of everybody working together to get these things done.
All right, thank you. Moving on to our next question. With population growth and increased development, how will you balance responsible growth while protecting the character and quality of life in Jackson County?
So, growth is going to happen. We know that our state is very attractive to a lot of areas across the country that are moving in here. And our county is also attractive for various reasons. Our way of life is number one, our people. And so, I think balancing that becomes difficult because you want the growth, but you want smart growth to where we maintain what we hold dear as citizens of Jackson County. And so, I think how you maintain that is through working with your different state and federal partners, your local county commission, your elected officials, and just having a good plan as you go forward.
We are having a large amount of people move into Jackson County. We're seeing a lot of growth. It's going to be up to the residents of Jackson County to help maintain what we're used to. Your county commission, other agencies in the state, try not to change too quickly. It's going to come, and there's not a lot they can do about it. So just try to maintain what's dear to us during the process.
I think one of the key things for me that I feel is the most important way to preserve the culture and the character of this beautiful place is to engage the people who are here. I'm so grateful for you all that are here today in person and all those people watching online. But there's 12,000 people in this county, and we need every single voice in order to be able to represent you. All of us elected officials have to hear from everyone in order to understand what you want preserved and where it's important. In terms of ways that I feel that could be done, design standards that reflect local identity, existing structures that can be preserved, things that represent the cultural character of the community can be repeated. Engage citizens early and often, town halls where we talk about what's going on and what the next project is. Surveys that involve many, many more people than some of the recent surveys. We can support local businesses and agriculture. There's so many ways that we can preserve the character and the culture, but it involves all the people in the county, and I intend to engage everyone.
There's an old saying that goes, with growth comes change. Jackson County is growing, but not at a rapid rate like our neighbors in, let's say, Putnam County, where you can drive down a road and 6 months later that road looks completely unrecognizable. Jackson County has 3 big attractions: Cummins Falls, downtown Gainesville, and historic Vernon. Each offers something unique for each age group and for different lifestyle people. From the outdoor adventure to the shopping and foodie, and for the festive and historical. Each of these divisions of Jackson County is about like the 3 grand divisions in Tennessee. We offer a little bit of everything with a little bit of everything in between. That is what attracts people to our area, whether it's to visit or to move here. And those efforts that support those areas, that helps preserve our culture here in Jackson County.
Thank you. Moving on to our 4th question. Politics can sometimes become negative. What is one positive quality you can share about each of your opponents in this race?
So, as Jim mentioned, I've worked with Jim for the last 10 years, but so I know him a lot better than Jonathan and Mr. Aurora. I've got to meet them in different places on the campaign trail. But, you know, I think the one positive thing really applies to all of them. And I think that all of them up here wants what is best for Jackson County. And it's just the job of the voters to decide who they feel can best carry that out. But I think that's one positive quality is they've all stuck their neck out to run. It's not easy. And, you know, like Jim mentioned, you don't make everybody happy, and everybody's not going to be happy. But they have thrown their hat in, and I think that's commendable.
Excuse me, like Brian. I've known Brian for 10 years, working in the Geelong County Court. The other two I've met since the campaign started. I have nothing bad to say about them here. I just look forward to meeting them on the trail and getting along.
Well, this may be a 3-minute answer instead of a minute and 30 seconds. I can tell you all that these two gentlemen up here I've had detailed conversations with. I've asked questions because I'm a person who hasn't been on the commission for very long. I had a conversation with Mr. Goodwin about how excited I was to see somebody young representing local elected officials here in Jackson County. And I want to tell you all that I could go on and on and on about the stewardship that these gentlemen here are representing for Jackson County. Y'all need to be so proud. We are all making a sacrifice. Brian and I had a brief conversation the other day in Granville when we ran into each other, and he mentioned to me, yeah, it's tough being on a campaign trail. You sacrifice a lot for what's going on at home with your family. Jim and I have had many conversations about the amount of hours it takes just to answer emails. So, bottom line, I could never say a bad thing, and I could go on and on and on about how great these guys are.
Yes, while things can get messy out in the world, here in Jackson County, we are neighbors. And at the end of the day, we can shake hands, say good job, and still hold each other friends. And at the end of the day, I'm sure that's what we can still hold each other. And that's what Jackson County is. It is something we should all be proud of. You know, that we don't allow that ugliness and hatefulness try to ruin our lives because of politics. You know? And each one of them has different backgrounds and qualities that would make great leaders. And unfortunately, we are all men against each other. But at the end of the day, we can shake hands and say, good job, friend.
Moving on to our fifth question. What is the most important issue facing Jackson County right now, and what is your plan to address it? What is the most important issue facing Jackson County right now, and what is your plan to address it?
I think it's kind of been mentioned, the growth that's coming creates some problems that come with it. And I think one of the areas that is an issue that if you get on social media, you'll all agree with me, this solid waste is an issue that you don't really think about on a day-to-day basis, but we've got more and more folks that are moving in. That puts pressure on those dump sites and those folks that are working that. And so I think that's an issue that is going forward that needs to be addressed. There's some things that we can look at as far as increasing the number of cans, maybe switching to a different type of system that makes it more efficient for the amount of space that we have. And so that would be some of the things that I would look at.
We have a lot of things that need to get addressed in Jackson County. Healthcare is one of them. People are looking for factories to come in. We've got to work on infrastructure. A lot of what we have in place right now has been here for years and years and years, and it's not keeping up with the growth we have going on in the county. We're looking at funding. I can tell you, budget, being on the budget committee, it takes quite a bit of time to work through the budget and try to keep taxes where they're at. We just went through a reappraisal, which created a lot of issues with the public. But we will adjust, the state will adjust the tax rate to accommodate what we've grown, or we have grown as far as what the property values are worth. So there's a lot of issues that we need to work on. It takes the county court, the public, and everybody to help address these issues. Biggest thing I can ask y'all is get involved. We need people to get involved and let us know what you want to see.
One of the most important issues I've heard you all talk about on Facebook and I've heard you all talk about in the street is your personal water bill. Apparently we've got some problems with water infrastructure. I believe that that is something that I would want to look at right away as an emergent thing that affects individuals and individual budgets in this community, in this county, in this community. As far as the list of other things, there's so many big items that we need to address, of which the candidates have already discussed some of them. So it's tough to pinpoint one single item, but on a broad stroke, I would say one of the key things that we need here in Jackson County is increased revenue in order that we can support growth in local government, in order that we can support grants that would be coming in order that we can hire local people to do the infrastructural work that will raise the bar for everybody financially and economically in the county. That's a broad stroke. There's specifics. And like Jim Morgan's statement, we need your engagement. We need to hear from everybody in the county to meet your needs. Thank you.
Well, like Ordinance Wells said, it's hard to pinpoint just one issue because there's a lot of small issues that can snowball into pretty big issues. From water infrastructure issues to road infrastructure issues to building infrastructure issues to growth issues or solid waste issues. Our growth that puts a strain on our police and first responders, our volunteer firefighters, everything. It's hard to pinpoint one thing, but coming together as a community to try to help find these solutions. And for water, that seems to be a big thing because recently the Fairview community was where our water comes from comes out of Lower County, and we was under a boiling for over a week, and that was a big learning issue. And that was one of the main reasons that caused me to run. So we need to work on our water department.
Our sixth question is, how will you prioritize spending and manage the county budget while still meeting community needs?
So, we have spending or revenues that come in You know, as Jim will tell you, the budget committee over the past, 8-10 years has really operated on a very sound, fiscally responsible method of budgeting. We take what revenues come in and we very conservatively budget that because we feel like each dollar that comes in, we try to treat it like our own and try to make it to where that we get the most bang for the buck without impacting our Jackson County taxpayers as much as possible. So with spending, of course, if you let someone, there's things that we need, but we have to prioritize what is the most bang for our buck with what revenues we have coming in. Thank you.
Working on the budget committee, we can only spend what we bring in. We rely on grant money, but even with grant money, a lot of times there's matching money that goes along with that. We may owe 5%, we may owe 10% with grants that come in. With grants, there's a lot of work that goes along with it, reporting to the state and people where the grant money is coming from. We've received a lot of grants. We get so much money that comes in, a lot of it's property tax, and now we're getting a portion of sales tax, which has helped us offset some of the expenditures we have. It's not easy. We have a comptroller that makes sure on the budget balances, so we can't just go in and get wild as good as we please. It's real hard to make ends meet when you're looking at ambulance services to run, we're looking at solid waste. There's certain things in the county that we have to offer. Sheriff's Department, one of them, libraries, one of them, and solid waste. So it's real hard to balance a budget in there.
One of the key ways to be able to continue the fiscal discipline that has already been performed by those in the budget committee for Jackson County is to do audit transparency. And the comptroller from the state of Tennessee has had some issues and found parts of the audit where there were findings saying that we've got some problems. And they've recommended a central accounting system. That doesn't have a negative impact on the fiscal discipline that has been displayed by Jackson County. I want to make that clear. As far as ways to figure out how to grow and still protect taxpayers, I believe that shared services, regional partnerships, collaborating with neighboring counties or cities to reduce duplicated services is an opportunity. I also believe that long-term capital planning, in other words, mapping out 5 to 10 years of infrastructure needs to prevent sudden tax hikes or emergency repairs, would be important to the community. Thank you.
So, local governments must be able to raise enough revenue for the services their county need, and fairly, and in a way that is consistent. Unfortunately, local government revenue systems face problems. The way they are currently set up is not aligned with current economic realities. This contributes to distortions in the economy. How the state of Tennessee actually allows local governments to actually govern the county. While property tax is a main revenue for the county, sales tax is an important revenue. A few years ago, the state of Tennessee passed laws saying that online sales tax can be kept in the county in which the items was purchased instead of where the items were purchased from. So that helped our county out tremendously during the start of COVID back in 2020, and especially when everybody was buying everything online. So this helps our county out tremendously. I believe that an outdated system can only increase vulnerability and downturns. The demand for public services does not change, it only increases.
All right, moving on. What specific steps will you take to improve quality of life for families, students, and seniors in Jackson County?
So I think partnering with our, our funds as a local area are limited. So we rely on help from state and federal representatives. So, there's partnerships that we need to have and develop and foster to move those along, especially for our students. We are getting ready to open a new TCAP building, so there's lots of things that are coming down the pike in that way. There's other areas, our seniors, obviously, I know there's lots of concerns. They're on a fixed budget, and just like when things go up for us at home, they go up for the county too, and so managing that is important. And so doing anything that we can to help our citizens and to maximize every bit of revenue that we have coming in is very important. And so, I think starting with our students and going from our students all the way up through our seniors is important.
As far as trying to help the residents of Jackson County, we need to be smart with our money as much as we can. Make sure we're spending it on things that are improving. Some things are just a little bit better out of our reach without help. And trying to bring in help and just different things. That's a different question to really try to answer.
As the mayor, one of your most important jobs is to go out there and look for grant funding, which often involves representation at the state and federal level, to engage with those folks and make sure that we get the support that we need. Another role that I feel like could be something that our mayor could engage in is looking toward our nonprofit organizations here and maybe outside of Jackson County as partners in a public-private partnership. For the mayor to go out and ask for these more fortunate folks to support local citizens in the form of perhaps fundraising for a shelter. Ways that we can bring revenue into the county that we haven't tried before, or that may not have had pathways that we could get to. These are the things that I would like to bring to the county.
So as county mayor, one of the top priorities is to ensure and protect the quality of life of its citizens. So many of you have heard me talk about certificate of need loss, and that's been our main program in the state of Tennessee over the past 50 years of acquiring adequate health care to rural Tennessee. And with the recent involvements in our state legislature, there's been laws that have recently passed to move some of these certificate of need laws out of the way so that we can actually do some form of adequate health care into our rural counties, such as Jackson County. And one of those is acute health care. Now, what is acute health care? Now, that is something like a 24/7 care facility. And that would help not only the residents' quality of life and the seniors' quality of life, this will also help bring in manufacturing because they require some type of 24/7 care facility within a certain radius of miles. And this will also protect and be beneficial for the youth coming out of schools.
Moving on to our next question. How will you work with state leaders to ensure Jackson County has a voice when decisions are made that affect funding and programs?
So I think that's a very important thing to be able to do, and so you have to be able to engage with all different types. You have to know what your vision for Jackson County is, and you have to be able to articulate that with them. We're, especially in our representative in the 40th district, we're probably the smallest in population in that. So sometimes it may seem like our voice is not necessarily heard as much, but it's important for our citizens that we do have that voice. And so having that relationship with Representative Hale, which I do through the school and through the commission, and also Senator Bailey, is going to be important to get them on board and back to helping Jackson County as much as possible.
Yes, sir. How will you work with state leaders to ensure Jackson County has a voice when decisions are made that affect funding and programs?
I've been to Nashville in the last year several times to meet with legislators to express the interest that Jackson County has in trying to get funding for things that we have. There's legislation. I watched what legislation comes through. Matter of fact, I've been on the computer today watching them rolls out legislation for this year. Let's see what's been going on. It's important to give them feedback from what I hear from the people of Jackson County so that they can make an informed decision the best they can.
Relationships are the most important part of making deals and getting help. And those relationships that you have with those state officials are going to be vital. As the mayor, you're setting a table in your community where you invite community members to come and sit at that table with you and tell you what they need, whether it's citizens, business owners, and the like. In the same way, state representatives set a table, and you've got to show up, and you've got to speak in a way that lets them know that you understand their position, you understand their challenges, and at the same time, you can express clearly what the challenges are for your small local community, Jackson County. I feel like I would be a great communicator, and I would be able to thrive in forging those relationships, and I look forward to that opportunity.
Yes, these relationships are important. Day one, you have these devices attached to your hands at all times. You need to have their numbers in your phone on day one. And you need to be calling them, emailing them, getting on their nerves, and to make sure that you have what you need for your county and your citizens. Invite them out to your county. Go to Nashville, be there during legislation season. Just be there, be that fly on the wall, be that nuisance to them, and in a good way. And just make sure that your voice is heard and that everybody's concerned. Get them in your county, show them what's wrong, show them this is what needs to be fixed. Tell them that we need your help.
Moving on to our next question. How will you ensure transparency and accountability in the mayor's office?
So I think, as far as transparency, just being open, having an open door policy, posting the different things that are coming on the website is, they've done a good job of getting that up and going in the last couple of weeks. And just having that accountability of, the buck stops with us elected officials and being able to convey that to people and being able to listen to people. I think that's most important. You know, we have 2 ears and a mouth for a reason. Being able to listen to people, listen to what their problems are. We may not always have the answer that right then, but we can work on a solution together.
We've been working on transparency. We've got the website that just started here in the last week. Things are being posted on there. The agenda's going to be on there. The minutes are going to be on there. Committee meetings, we have the committees, the commissioners that are on committees. Members of those committees are published on there. They were on there today. This is a work in progress. It's going to take us a while to get this going on. Also, I'm in the office a whole lot, so if you have questions, please come in and ask. I'm glad to have an open door policy. Please come in. I'll answer the best I can. I try to be honest and upfront with what's going on in the county and how we're spending money. But there's a lot going on, a lot more than what the public realizes in the office every day. We get a lot of phone calls. It seems like we're supposed to be the one to answer every question that comes in, and despite what most people think, I'm not the boss of everybody in the county. Elected officials answer to themselves, basically. They don't answer to the mayor. We try to be transparent. A lot of times it doesn't seem that way. But most of our records are open. You can come by and look and see for yourself what's going on.
As I spoke about transparency earlier, I agree with all of the statements that have been made so far. Putting things online that you guys have questions about will make it easier for all of us. So you can go to a website and look for the answer yourself. That'll make one less question I have to answer on the phone. However, if you want to call me, I, of course, will be available. I believe in setting office hours that are predictable, that are published, so that if anybody's got a problem and they want to come and see me in person, they'll know exactly what day and what time I'll be there, and I would update those hours on a regular basis on the website so that you all will know when you can find me in person and when you can find me available on the phone. There's so many ways for the transparency to be available. One of them is results from any sort of a meeting that we have. Those things could be posted online. Now we have to have staff availability to do that. So these are all considerations that in those first 90 days, I would be questions.
Yes, that website is, any meetings is a step in the right direction. Having everything available to you, including the videos to every meeting. And there is still more to do. Being open and transparent, being able to speak to everybody, being available to everybody, and having debates such as this, you know, that's another step in the right direction. Being able to be available to the people, having, you know, giving up your number, seeing someone out on the street or at a community event or anything. I've answered phone calls, text messages, answered people online, email, everything. All hours of the day and night. I've talked to people for over an hour on the phone. So just being available to the people and being transparent. I know this is being recorded and everything. I know my wife will love this. And being wrong, I know I've been wrong before. So, you know, please call us out if we are wrong. So.
Moving on to our next question. Why are you the best choice to lead Jackson County over the next 4 years?
I feel like I'm the best choice because of my varied leadership experience. My serving started early, working to help raise money to put water down my grandma's road. At an early age, leadership abilities and leadership positions in the church where I grew up, and then on into graduation and starting my teaching career, and then into administration, leading 40-something adults on a daily basis, all with different opinions and different things, plus 280 parents who think and want the best for what their kids have as well as I do. And so you have to balance a lot of things doing those things. And then also my 10 years on the commission. There's a lot, local government works very different than the private sector. It's a completely different way of doing things sometimes. And so I think that all those varied experiences together is what makes me the best choice to lead, and lead in a positive way, and trying to get all of the elected officials on board so that we're all pulling in the same direction and doing what's best for Jackson County.
My background as a department head for 25 years. I worked on the county budgets. I helped with bid processes, been involved with that. The county commission has also helped being in the mayor's office. I thought I knew a whole lot about what was going on in the county as county commission until I became mayor. And then I found out I didn't know near as much as I thought I did. We end up with a lot of problems. We get a lot of phone calls. A lot of it just simple. Who do I need to call? Who do I need to contact? My background in emergency services is very for what I deal with on a daily basis. We get phone calls in the mayor's office. My lights don't work. It's not all just financing and things like this. I have to run, basically take care of a lot of the maintenance for the county buildings that we have going on. This toilet doesn't work. Like I said, it's not all money, it's not all taxes, it's not all this. There's a lot of things going on.
It seems to me that this mayoral job in Jackson County will definitely be like a 3-ring circus, and I'm going to have to be a really great juggler. And I feel like I'm best suited for that role because I've been doing that throughout my career in Southwest Florida. I have run multi-entity financial structures in the form of nonprofit organizations that were tied together financially. I had to deal with insurances at a zoo that were expiring because of a transition from a for-profit organization to a nonprofit organization. I've had to lead teams, enforce accountability, align competing and very diverse interests toward common goals. In doing so, you're faced with a lot of listening. You're faced with a lot of relationship building. You're faced with a lot of trying to figure out what is the best solution to meet the common interests of everyone involved. And I, through my financial work, I've been able to do that multiple times. So I feel very confident that I would be a great leader for Jackson County.
Throughout my youth, I participated in the Jackson County Youth Leadership Program, and there, at a young age, it helped develop effective leadership skills that I intend to use for my role in public service. I have volunteered as a mentor to other high school seniors through the Tennessee Achieves and Tennessee Promise scholarship programs for the past 5 years. These students make the transition from the high school to post-secondary education institutes, from either technical colleges to four-year universities. In my professional work, I have conducted meetings with multiple chamber directors, held community-involved meetings with chamber directors, county leaders, business owners, and local stakeholders, skills that are directly transferable to the office of county mayor. My leadership style is inclusive and transparent. I believe in listening to different perspectives, foster collaboration, and make data-driven decisions that benefit everyone in Jackson County. These experiences have prepared me to lead Jackson County with integrity and vision. This is why I believe I am the best choice for mayor of Jackson County.
Before we move on to audience questions, I've been given the opportunity to ask one question. As a lifelong resident of Jackson County and as someone planning my future in agricultural communications, how will you ensure that my generation has access to good jobs and career opportunities right here in Jackson County?
So, first, thank you for doing this tonight. It's very much appreciated. It makes all us educators in the building proud to see one of our own up doing this, and so I appreciate that. You know, I couldn't be more proud of our school system and what we do. I believe firmly we do more with less than anybody, and I know that our leadership from Mr. Hardy on down, you know, especially at the high school level to our elementary schools to our middle schools, we're doing the best we can to prepare students for that, and it's seeking out those opportunities. You know, we've got the young farmers and ranchers that started in Jackson County that's growing. We've got things through the school system. Mr. Cross is starting a farm over there. TCAP building's getting ready to open with numerous options that are going to be over there. There's also been some folks reach out about some opportunities for aeronautics things to utilize our airport further. So there's lots of options coming down, and in this global world, we're able to offer more for our students every day, and so we look, they're our future, and I'm proud of it.
I think we need to be very proud of what's happening in our schools today. We're one of the smallest counties in the state, and yet we're achieving things that some of the larger schools are not achieving. I think we're doing very well. I'm proud of the superintendent of schools and what the school system has done in Jackson County. I think we need to look for opportunities to bring in more. The TCAT has done a big plus here in the last few years with what we're allowed to do. It's expanding some. I just think we need to look for more opportunities to bring more in to train our young people.
I feel so proud to have been a product of the Jackson County school system. I got to travel the world. I got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and I've seen things that I never imagined possible when I was 11 years old and I left this place and ended up back in Florida. I can tell you that my commitment to the young people of this community is so incredibly ingrained in who I am as an individual. The education that I received here served me in ways that I cannot thank this community enough for. And I would want to offer that to every generation moving forward. And I would look toward any opportunity. There's a huge world out there of growing technologies that we don't all understand, that we have to be careful with and mindful with. And our younger folks need to be a part of the decision making and a part of understanding with us what is best for the future of Jackson County. I would encourage that in the school systems supporting all these programs, and I am so proud of Jackson County and will continue to make efforts to make everyone moving forward be proud as well.
I know some of you probably been asked this before. If you could go back to school and do it over again, would you? But for me, seeing what's going on in Jackson County, I know I would. Because everything that's going on now, that's something to be proud of. And everything from the agriculture classes and farm style to everything that Mr. Chapman is doing is truly amazing. And that is something to truly be proud of. And we have great educators that we truly need to be able. There's so much more that we can still do. As Mr. Lee mentioned, with young farmers and ranchers, they're actually doing a friend of Mr. Now to help with ag class, which is to raise funds to purchase agricultural goods to put in city schools to teach the young kids about agriculture, how farms are done, where our food comes from, how plants are done. So there's a lot of new things coming for Jackson County, and there's a lot of things that is already happening.
Thank you. Before we move, as you enter this evening, you are given the opportunity to write down questions. We won't be able to answer every question, but we will get to as many as possible. All questions will be shared with the candidates afterwards. David, please pull the first question.
They're on their way to me. Here we go. All right. Candidates, how do you intend on assisting and promoting tourism in the community?
So, tourism is obviously very important to our county. Over the last few years, our chamber has done a magnificent job of promoting our county. They partnered with Tennessee Tech and come up with Explore JCTN. And as Mr. Goodwin mentioned earlier in one of his answers, you've got Granville and the different options out there. You've got Cummins Falls and the options out there to see the natural beauty of Jackson County. And then you've got some top-rated restaurants in Gainesboro on the Square. I'd put them up against any in the country. I love them. Just ask some of my faculty. I'll tell them all the time, you've got to go to Coin. It's one of my favorites. But also, we're getting ready to, start work and in the next year or two, open the Cordell Hotel. And so, bringing those people into Jackson County, showing them what we've known our whole life, and just insinuating that, partnering with the chamber. We have a new chamber director, Miss Olivia. I think she's going to do a fantastic job. And Miss Hope's still going to be around to help. And so just partnering with them and just continuing to promote our great county. Thank you.
We continue in the mayor's office to work on tourism. We have meetings often. We got a tourism grant. We're adding a boat dock and fishing wharf that's in place in Granville right now. It's up and going. We've been working on the park, Veterans Park out there, updating it, cleaning it, putting some new equipment out there in Granville. I attend meetings on tourism often. We've got a lot of things going for Jackson County. That's why a lot of people are moving in. There's a lot of places that don't have what we have, just the nature, the bald eagles that you see in around Jackson County. We've got other things, projects going on in Jackson County. We're working on a community center at the old Fox Middle School. That's something we've been meeting on quite regularly. We're looking for funding for that. That's something where we may have a YMCA and a library come in. And these things will make Jackson County more attractive than what it is right now. So hopefully we can bring more people and more interest in the Jackson County.
Tourism is such a revenue generator, and I'm so excited that Jackson County has embraced it so firmly. I would want to continue that. I would want to pursue any sort of public-private partnerships that would also further that. We've got Airbnbs cropping up in our county that will help generate revenue. I would encourage our community to continue to look toward that. Driving traffic in this area is a beautiful way of bringing revenue in that doesn't stick around in order to consume our infrastructure. Because of that, it allows us to grow and it allows us to prosper. So specific ways that I would encourage tourism is these public-private relationships with philanthropic interests that have moved into the community or have been here long-standing, to make them partners in the process of both supporting the local government and strengthening it, while also supporting their efforts to drive revenues for their local businesses.
Tourism is truly an amazing thing because there's so much that you can do. And Jackson County is a prime example of what you can do with tourism. Cummins Falls, downtown Gainesville, Granville. Like I said, there's over 3 grand divisions, and that just represents Tennessee a lot. And there's a lot of new, I guess you would call themed trails that are soon coming to be released that highlights some of our businesses and natural features throughout the county. Can't talk too much about that just yet. We've had a TV show called Wish You Were Here that highlighted a lot of our businesses. I was part of the background and part of that, so we kind of highlight that as well for tourism. And just being able to highlight Jackson County is truly amazing feature. Again, tourism is something that is something amazing that you can work with and be flexible with and be an amazing master.
All right, our next question.
Candace, how would you support the animal shelter that is in the planning stages right now?
So I know that's a hot topic in our county, and so obviously no one wants stray animals running around. I think just supporting them, it's a private group that's doing that, and so just being supportive, being available to them, being an open door, a sounding board. I don't think necessarily that it's something that the county should look to get involved in themselves, but helping them in any way, maybe being an option for a grant partner or something of that nature, and just making sure that it's all sides are heard, that the concerns of the community are heard, along with what we want, what's best for the animals, and I know it's a drain sometimes on our law enforcement having to respond to those calls, and so hopefully we could take some of that off of them as well. And so just being a good community partner, being a good sounding board for them, and working together best we can.
With that, it is a problem. We have a lot of strays. We have a lot of issues with dogs, cats being dropped off. Like Brian said, if we add it into the budget, then we're looking maybe at a tax increase. I don't know that the public's ready for that at this time. Look for funding where we can, but that's not something that you see coming down from the state level at this time as well. So it's an ongoing problem. It's something we're eventually going to have to deal with, probably more so than we are right now. Just not sure what the answer is. Probably need to educate myself more on the issues and the problems that we have with that.
I want to applaud the animal shelter for reaching out to each of the candidates, asking us questions. For those of you who don't participate on Facebook, all of the candidates were given a series of questions that we answered, and they posted it on their Facebook page. So you get a chance to check that out. It would be great for you to review the answers that each of the candidates gave. I'm in full support of the animal shelter within the confines of what I could do as the mayor. Bringing consensus among commissioners is key to making big decisions about supporting any organization. Overall, I see nonprofit organizations as strategic partners, not just vendors. And certainly in an animal shelter is going to be a major part of public safety, which falls under the responsibilities and the duties of the local county mayor. While I can't affect law as the mayor, I can definitely encourage law enforcement to partner with any policies and any procedures that the animal shelter would feel would be helpful and efficient towards taking care of the many problems that we have.
It really is tragic that, people are abandoned, come here to dump animals and leave them behind. And while there are laws in place that does protect the animals, at our county alone and our road commission, there's just really not much that we can do. But there are grants available that could help foster and adopt these animals. If the problem goes on, it does become a public safety issue. And there's a public safety issue that becomes a concern to citizens, and that becomes an issue for the county mayor. And there are programs and grants available, and we just need to be available to help seek those grants out for the same.
Time for our next question.
All right, candidates. I think all of us are going to be really interested in your answer on this one. How large of a property tax increase should we expect in the next year? Because I'm sure you know the exact number each and every one.
So the answer to that question is, Budget Committee has not started meeting yet, but it shouldn't, we don't anticipate at this time a tax increase. I think there's been some confusion with the property reappraisal that's required by the state of Tennessee for us to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there will be a property tax increase, and Mr. Morgan can attest to this. There's no one on the county commission that wants a property tax increase. And I think with the way we budget and the way we work, I don't think that's something that will be coming down the pike unless something catastrophic happens, and I don't see that. So I think we'll work hard to make sure we work within the confines of our budget and go from there.
I agree. This year being a reappraisal year, it's a little bit different. The state will come in and adjust our property tax rate so that we're not making any more money than what we got last year. So chances are our tax rate will come down this year. I don't know how much that'll be, come from the state, and we'll see what we have to do. But we should be equal on the amount of money that we're able to work with. If we decide that we need a tax increase, then we have to be public hearings and things before that happens. But again, I don't see that happening unless there's something major happens that we're unaware of.
This topic of taxes, it's a rough one because we're facing a lot of growth, and how do we go about not raising our taxes? Well, I feel like I have some answers to that based on my experience in the communities where I've served before I've come back here to Jackson County. When growth happens and new members come to a community, there are tools that can be used that we can discuss in the commission to create situations in which that growth is required to pay for itself. Whether that's new things like impact fees or agreements with developers, etc. These are ways in which we can increase our revenues without affecting people who have been here already. We can grandfather in tax rates currently and still raise revenues for people who are interested in coming here, which we're a very attractive place. I have no interest in raising taxes. I agree that the commissioners are not interested in raising taxes. I believe that there are ways in which we can prioritize higher values and low-cost development And we can continue to use conservative revenue forecasting in order to avoid raising taxes for residents.
So I believe we can all agree that we don't have taxes, but property values have gone up, and that gone there is not just here. So the best way that I can explain it is that since our property values have gone up, the state sees that and they say, hold on, wait a minute, everything's not balanced out. So they come in, they work with us, and they need to lower their tax rate to make everything balanced and kosher and sweet and everybody happy again. So the way I see it is that while property values are going up, our tax rate is really going down. So essentially everything will become balanced out. So everyone's property tax will either be up or down a few dollars here or there. Just nothing too serious. We can put whatever which works and torches and save that for another day.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question.
All right, candidates. UT Extension provides research-based guidance that many in our county rely on, from agriculture, family, consumer science, and shaping our youth through 4-H programs. How will you incorporate their expertise into your decision-making to protect and expand your footprint in our community?
So I've worked over the past 24 years in various roles with the 4-H office. Started as a classroom teacher, and Miss Cynthia Zotz coming in and working in our class, and then even as far back as when I was a student. Some of you that have been here a while remember Mr. Jack McDaniel and Miss Fox that would come into our schools, and some great memories as a youth. On through as an administrator, allowing them to come in our building and work with us through the school side. They also do a great job with all their different programs of helping our farmers. I'm on the Ag Committee with the 4-H office as a commissioner, and so it's something that's kind of out of sight, out of mind sometimes. But when you look at all of the things that they do for our county, they're the experts in the field, and they get to rely on the research that UT is doing. And so I think leveraging into that research that they have and the help that they have and partnering with them to help extend that and widen that footprint in Jackson County.
Agriculture in Jackson County has changed very bit. There used to be a lot of tobacco grown in Jackson County. You don't see that much anymore. And a lot of the families that got all the home, you just don't see a lot of what we were used to seeing back when I was growing. Don't miss a lot of it. Tobacco and hay and this. But they're a very important part of Jackson County and what happens in town. As far as what they do with 4-H and the students, and how they help the students grow and realize there's jobs in agriculture. And a lot of times you just have to look at that.
I want to make a nod to the 4-H group that brought Ava here today with us. It's a perfect example. It's a perfect example of how we partner with these really important organizations. Again, I'll say it again, these are strategic partners, and getting them more involved is key. And that footprint grows every time we have an event like this, or any sort of an event, whether it be agricultural or otherwise. There's a lot of opportunity with our lands here, and a lot of people express concerns to me about, well, we're land rich, but cash poor. And how do we deal with that conflict of, well, we don't want to sell out, but we've got a large piece of land that we're not necessarily going to use. And I believe that all of these partnerships that were part of the question can be part of a greater project that we work toward using tools like community land trust and community investment funds. That's a long topic that I can't answer now, but if anybody has any questions, I'd love to have that conversation.
First, I gotta say, Mr. Lee, you just made me feel old since, considering I'm the youngest candidate, throwing out names like Ms. Cynthia and Mr. Jack, so thank you for that. I'm also a product of 4-H. I was involved with 4-H, and like Ada here, she was involved with 4-H, so it truly is something that is generational, and it truly is great. They recently had an open house, and I stopped in for a visit and to chat, and one of the young men that was working with me is one of the camp counselors as well, and we was just, reminiscing about 4-H and the good times that we had going there, and and the counselor there, just the stories that continue on at 4-H and the educational programs that they offer, and going to the schools, and everything that they do for not just the schools but for our community as well. They truly are a tremendous organization. They need our support. It just says they support us.
Moving on to our next question.
All right. As a resident of Jackson County myself, and I feel like most of you in this room are also really thinking this, how would you guys address the rise of Christian nationalism that's going on in our county?
So, first let me say I'm a Christian, first of all, and love America. I want to say if elected mayor, mayor for everybody, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on or how you feel about it. We have to do as county mayors what's a wise man once told me there's right, wrong, and legal, and always do what's legal. And so, I want to stick to first what we can do as far as the legal side of things. But, I think lifelong residents of Jackson County have a set of values, and I believe those are good values, and I believe those are important, and I believe that they should still be supported. And we've welcomed people in, and we're hometown people. I can, we've mentioned, there's people moving in. I can remember the very first person that moved in. I was in 4th grade at Dotson Branch, and a young man moved from California, and he had the jam shorts and the surfboard, and I thought I didn't know what world I was in. Just holding those values in Jackson County.
Could you repeat the question? I couldn't hear it over there.
Absolutely. Jim, what would you do about the rise of Christian nationalism here in Jackson County?
As mayor, you have to kind of be impartial with everything. It's not my job to decide one way or the other. It's a difficult position to be in as mayor and have to work through some of the situations that we're put in. I don't know what the best answer is to that, but we have to deal with all kinds and everything like this. So they have the right to do what they want as long as it's legal. And right now, that's.
I think it all boils down to me for the separation between church and state. And I want to be very clear about what I mean by that. The bottom line for me is that the separation of church and state isn't anti-religion. It's pro-church independence. Our faith, communities remain voluntary. They're authentic and they're mission-driven. My faith is something that is very deep and personal to me, and it is something that has come to me as a child, as I was a member of this Jackson County community. I too am a Christian. What I feel is most important in the halls of our local government is that the church remains separate, so that if you have a faith that you believe in and you practice, you have absolute freedom to do that, and it doesn't come and affect the policies in our local government. As long as we are able as a community to stick to that, there is no reason why we can't live in peace and harmony with each other.
While Christian values played a significant role in shaping the United States, influencing the beliefs of our founding fathers, and the development of key documents like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, our founding fathers had a variety of different religious backgrounds, but many of those were influenced by Christian moral teachings. While many were not Orthodox Christians, their writings and speeches often reflected those Christian values. Personal feelings and personal beliefs tend to blend, and that's usually what causes one's judgment to become blind. We live in America. We have the freedom to practice religion that is protected by the First Amendment, ensuring individuals can follow their faith without government interference, while maintaining government neutrality towards religion. Over my short years of voting compared to my opponents, I've noticed voting trends and how people or groups in the vote. They usually tend to vote the same way or, different.
All right, moving on to our next question.
Okay. Candidates as mayor, would you commit to keeping the opioid settlement funds inside the county to be used by local organizations and not going to agencies from outside of the county? Sure. As mayor, would you commit to keeping the opioid settlement funds inside the county to be used by local organizations and not going to agencies from outside of the county?
Yeah, over the past couple of years with the opioid settlements or opioid abatement money that's been coming in, I think for the most part we've kept that within the county. We've looked for different avenues to use that in. I know we have received Narcan at the schools at the request. If I request it from the mayor, he pulls that and gets that because you in this day and time, you just don't know with the rise of vapes and whatnot in schools. You don't know what's in those, and so it's a safety thing that we have. And through the prevention partnership, they've had people come in and do trainings with us there in Miss Nora and give you all the information on that. But yes, I would agree that it needs to, as much as possible, stay within Jackson County, help our citizens.
I can tell you we're dealing with the opioid thing. Right now, we have not spent any outside Jackson County. We have helped 3 organizations right now in Jackson County with opioid. They put in a request, we look at the request, and then we fund it if we possibly can. So right now, the money has stayed in Jackson County.
I mirror what the other candidates have said so far, and I would also go on to say that if the reason we are not spending it, if in fact that's the case, is because we haven't found a way to spend it that falls within the guidelines, I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say maybe we need to have people out in our community door to door to see if there are folks that need some help that maybe don't have the ability to ask for it, and that may be a way for us to use the funds within the county. But we definitely don't need any money walking out the door, so keeping those funds here is important.
too familiar with these programs, but I believe keeping money in the county is important, and being able to help people is also important. And there is a dangerous opioid crisis sweeping across the nation, and it truly is tragic that what it is caused to people across the nation, and being able to keep these funds here in our county and to be able to help people should be top priority for as county manager.
Time for the next question.
Candidates, what is your plan for the county's relationship with our emergency workers, the EMS, jail, fire deputies, and how will you help them with pay and equipment?
So I think, obviously our relationship with our emergency personnel, whether that be EMS, law, fire, our volunteer fire departments, just doing as much as humanly possible, as much as we can to get them the things that they need to help our citizens, whether that's through grant money or trying to think of creative ways to help them with needs that they have, which is, that's one thing I will say is over the past 10 years as a commissioner, anytime that a request is brought before the budget committee or the commission as a whole, as it relates to emergency services, that takes top priority over some other requests that might come in. And so we always try to keep that in mind. And so just continuing to foster that relationship. I know a lot of them personally, and so just doing anything that we can to help them.
With my background in emergency service, I can tell you firsthand, I'm very proud of the emergency services we have in Jackson County. I've worked with them close over the years. We have some of the best EMS, sheriff's department, fire departments in the state. We receive funding through CDBG grants. EMS gets received one, and that runs for equipment. They got new cots, heart monitors, and things like this. Also, with our department, kids we use the CDBG grant. We bought tankers and fire, so 3 grants like that. I've totally support emergency services.
As Jim mentioned, those community development block grants, that's the CDBG grants that he speaks of. Those are vital for making sure that we continue to support our EMS. One of the concerns that has come up many times, and I believe that we had a tax increase in order to cover some of this, was that the wages of those folks were not what they needed to be. And we have to look forward to how we're going to fund those increases so that we keep the talent and those that are committed to serving here locally. It would be a priority for me to consult with those people who understand what the future of that looks like, what their needs are, map out 5 and 10-year plans in order that we're thinking about it so that we don't get smacked with a tax increase because we just haven't planned enough ahead. And I think that's key and vital. Stacking grants, making sure you make future plans for growth to come for all of those important public safety departments is a top priority.
We really do have a remarkable group of men and women who go out day in, day out, who put their lives on the line for us, to protect and serve us. And we need to make sure that they have the equipment that they need to go out and serve our communities. And there's grants available because everybody's reaching. We know that there's things available. We know how to do them. And we need to take care of those that take care of us. And we need to make sure that they have the competitive pay to go to them before it goes to any politician. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next question.
All right, candidates, what are your thoughts on the Fox Community Center project?
So, obviously, this is a very exciting thing for our county. That's kind of still in the early planning stages, but as most of you know, there was a survey that went out, had some good responses to that, and so I know that through that, that building means a lot to a lot of people in Jackson County because of its historical significance. A lot of you in your spring went to school there, and so to see it being able to be a resource of the community again is exciting. Hopefully everything continues to go as it needs to go to make sure that happens. I know there's some hurdles to go through still yet, but early returns are looking promising, and so it's an exciting thing.
We had some meetings today about the Fox Middle School. I know there has been some funding looked into and inquired about for that, to pay for that particular project. A lot of excitement there. It could be a big thing. It could bring something for our kids to do in the evening with the YMCA. Also, it would expand the library, go over twice the size it is now. Very exciting times with things that are going on in Jackson County with the motel and with the restaurants coming in. And now we're looking at revitalizing the middle school into a YMCA and a library. I think it's a good time to be in Jackson County.
I, like many of you, have a very close relationship with that building. That gym floor is seen in the front of my forehead and the back of my skull so many times I can't even tell. So I know that a lot of you have such a warm feeling about the preservation of that building, and I'm really excited about the project. I'm going to take it one step further and say, what a huge opportunity. Let's also do more. Let's also help support those who are working so hard to do this project by strengthening some other parts of how we serve our community. We should be looking forward to things like storm shelters, things like ways to improve our community centers, ways to further support our fire departments, such that we have what we need in terms of structures and communities to help people when bad weather's coming, etc. I don't want to downplay the excitement that I feel about the Fox Community Center. It's a public-private partnership that is amazing, and the people involved are awesome. And the best way that we can say thank you to them is by raising the level of support that we offer our community in other ways, by working on other projects as well.
That really is an incredible project that's up and coming for Jackson County. I sat in on the town hall meeting a few months ago. I took several notes, took pictures of all the specs and plans for it, and asked questions afterwards. And I know a lot of people have concerns about the funding, and as a public and private partnership, funding could be a part of the concerns. I know Congressman John Rose had said that he wants to allocate $6 million for this project. He thought that he wants to see this project through. And just having the funding for this community involvement, just seeing the revitalization of an old historic building be used for something new, something great for the community. Something truly amazing for Jackson County. I really see this project.
we're gonna do one last question. I kind of gotta dig for it here. Yeah, that one's not in here, Ava.
I have it.
Okay.
All right. For our final question, the Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury has reported reoccurring audit findings in Jackson County over multiple years and has recommended implementing a centralized county accounting system to strengthen internal controls in financial reporting. Do you support this recommendation? And if so, how would you approach a solution?
So I may have a different opinion than other people up here, but I don't support that recommendation, and here's the reason why. I've got 24 years of experience in our school system. Our school budget is the biggest part of our budget in the whole county by almost 3 times, maybe 4. The last several years anyway, there have been no audit findings within the school. So the danger you run of running a centralized accounting system is you slow that down. And so you risk damaging the major part of your budget with having a centralized system, because there's grants that come through that are very specific to those topics. And so if whoever is in that centralized accounting position is not aware of those, it runs an issue. I think the issues, if you go back and look at the audit findings and of what we had, there are fixable things. When I first took over as principal at Dotson Branch, we kept having a recurring finding in our county of lack of internal controls as far as segregation of duties. Sat down with my bookkeeper, we come up with a solution, we implemented that, we fixed that problem. That was then mirrored across the other parts of the county. And so I think you can do that with the mayor's office as well.
The problems we have, I would agree to see centralized financing, but it's going to create issues. Our budget is divided into 3 sections. You have the highway department, you have the school, and then you have county general, which is one of them. This would bring all 3 of them together. With that, you're going to have 2 departments give up control that's probably not willing to give up control at this time. So you're creating issues and things. As far as the audit findings, part of that was because of things that happened in the mayor's office. We have one of the reoccurrings was over unclaimed property. You wouldn't realize we pay jurors to come when they serve the court. When they don't cash those small checks, it creates an issue in the mayor's office. That unclaimed property has to be turned into the state, because we don't have the staffing to go through and turn these things into the state. They have to find it for us in the first 2 years in a row. So a lot of this is dealing with staffing, and when you increase staff, you increase property tax. That's what a lot of people don't see.
So I'm the new kid in terms of not knowing the details on the inside out from a budget perspective. And I have had conversations with Mr. Morgan about this in detail. I've had conversations with other commissioners about how this works. And I am absolutely convinced without a shadow of a doubt that there are modern accounting systems that would allow us to have the separation that Brian spoke about, to keep those systems running as efficiently and as correctly as they have been, and at the same time centralize with regard to the mayor's office and that particular accounting system all in one. Fund accounting is complicated. It's something that I've spent 30 years working in. It's possible, and I feel that it's the next step in the form of best practices that Jackson County can tackle that will serve us for generations moving forward.
And then that leaves me as the young kid. So, but this particular issue comes up in our audits. So, over the years, and Mr. Mayoral, he's our comptroller, he writes recommendations on how to fix these solutions. And he recommended implementing a centralized system. Now, as Mr. Lee explained, with creating that centralized system, it can create overlapping problems and requirements become overlapped and budgeting can become messy. Now, as far as budgeting goes, there are regulations that we must follow set by the states and city. And these things are limited. It's not like balancing our checkbooks at home. We have a lot of state laws that we have to follow. We've got to make sure that we follow those regulations to the T.
All right, now that all questions have been run through all of our candidates, we will now allow 3 minutes for each candidate for a closing statement.
We just pulled that question out earlier and got on. Closing statement. Faith, family, community. That's who I am. That's me in a nutshell. I had somebody tell me before this, Brian, you just be Brian. So that's what I am. Faith, family, community. Since I've raised up, that's the way my family was raised us, and that's the way I raised my family. And I couldn't be more proud. Again, I want to thank moderator and Ava for doing this, and thank all my family, friends, thank the community for coming out and showing some interest. It's important, and everybody's voice can be heard. And I promise to lead with positivity. I'm a big, you can ask some of my faculty back there, big positive energy guy. I believe you can't be unthankful for things and think about things you're thankful for at the same time. Just try. You get worried, think about all the great things we have in Jackson County, and you can't think of bad things while you're also thinking of good things. And so that's what we lead with at school. I promise to bring that, work together with our elected officials, with our sheriff and solid waste and the schools and just community partners, businesses, chamber, all the things working together to take Jackson County into the future. And I humbly ask for your vote, and I promise to work hard and do the best I can. And so if you're not doing anything on May the 5th, I appreciate that check next to my name, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
I'm in a little different situation than this week, sitting under me. I have the job. I was asked to do this after Randy Hagan passed away. I came into a difficult situation, not knowing where we're at. I'm very thankful for Randy. I've tried to finish up some of the projects that we were working on, and we've got that. We've got a new hangar at the airport that Randy was working on. We've had $3.7 million in water line that was started in Randy. I appreciate Randy very much. He was a good friend of mine. Didn't ask for this job. I thought I was retired. I didn't end up being retired. I ended up coming out retired. I do what I feel is best for the county. I'm not always right. Never claim to be. It's a difficult job. It's a thankless job a lot of times. I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of like I said, I do my best. I appreciate your consideration come election day. Thank you much for being here, and all I can do is to get involved. You want to know what's going on. You want to do what's best for Jackson County. Get involved.
I want to start by saying I am so so incredibly thankful and grateful for the team of people that worked on this to make this happen. Carla Clark, make sure you thank her. This was a huge undertaking. I have no doubt in that. And I'm so glad that you all came out to participate. It's a refreshing opportunity to be able to express our opinions and also to listen to each other as candidates. I have a feeling that Randy Huddy would have been very proud of this moment tonight. And I hope that we have more of these. I look forward to seeing you all on May 5th. I also look forward to seeing you all on August 6th. What I will say is that I would really appreciate your vote. But even if you don't vote for me, and especially for the folks that may not have attended here in person, I'm speaking to you out there also. Please show up to the polls. That's the one way that you can get involved that takes you just a few minutes. There will be early voting before the August election. There's an early voting now until the 30th of April. You can stop in the election commission office, and it's a super easy process. I encourage everybody to participate. I also encourage everybody to come up to us, approach us, call us, reach out on Facebook. Even if you're not happy, we want to hear from you. At least that's my stance. I want to hear from everybody. I appreciate you all for being here. I'm so happy to be back in Jackson County. I'm so excited to serve in whatever way I can. We have such a bright future in front of us. Congratulations to all of you for this wonderful community and for all of the efforts that you've made to keep it authentic in Jackson County.
Again, thank you, Carla, for putting this event together and for hosting this event. Thank you, Ava, our moderator. You have a bright future ahead of you. Thank you to Jackson Events for live streaming this event, for those who could make it out tonight. And thank you to my fellow candidates. Politics are hard, and, you know, not anything mean, hateful would say, we're keeping it nice, calm, and cool. And that is very, and I thank you for that. Tonight we didn't just debate policies, we debated the future of our county. What we will leave behind for the next generation of Jackson County takes place at the polls. This county has given me so much, and I believe it's my time to give back. I believe in the power and strength of the community and the promise of a brighter future. You know, Ronald Reagan once said that America was a shining city on a hill, and I want to make Jackson County an example of what that shining city is. And together we can make Jackson County an even better place to live, work, raise a family, and I'd be honored to have your support and vote in this Republican primary election. Thank you for tonight. May God bless you, and may God bless Jackson County. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. It's truly been such an honor. Thank you to our candidates. You all have done such an amazing job. And thank you to the community for coming out tonight. It really means a lot. Thank you.
And before we close, I just want to take a few moments to say thank you to the Friends of Jackson County Animal Shelter, the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce, Anderson Upper Cumberland Funeral Home, Morrison Creek College, all the volunteers and the organizers of this event. Thank you guys so much.